We want everyone in the same classroom. C'est un principe qui est très noble, il n'y a aucun doute. But one of the things that I've heard from teachers across this province is that if we are going to have inclusion, then we need more funding. So the two have to come together. Et c'est très clair qu'on aimerait avoir le bénéfice social du fait que tout le monde serait dans les mêmes salles de classe. Mais en même temps, il n'y a aucun doute qu'il y a des défis lorsqu'on va inclure des gens qui ont peut-être des difficultés d'apprentissage dans des classes avec d'autres gens qui n'auraient pas. One thing that we should start to do as a province is start to detect as early as possible learning disabilities. And I would even venture to say learning styles. And what I mean by that is imagine if you, as a teacher, you get your classroom and you can open up all the files of all the students in your class and you can see how many are visual, how many are auditive, how many have learning disabilities. All this information will ensure, A, that you're going to know what the makeup of your class should be, but B, if there is a specific young person who's having a tough time, well, you can open up that file to find out why. Maybe they don't have a learning disability, but perhaps they're visual. Perhaps it's the case of my brother who started to do very poorly in grade 4, and they found out it was because he needed glasses and he was sitting at the back of the class. Things like that will make sure that it's simple, cost-effective ways of ensuring that we deliver incredibly productive education to all of our students and making sure that it's socially just at the same time. Et il n'y a aucun doute dans mon esprit que l'éducation, c'est de loin le meilleur investissement qu'on peut possiblement faire. Not only is education by far the best economic investment we can make, it is the best social equalizer out there. Merci.
That can be a very complicated answer, or that's a complicated question, the definition of inclusive education. And I don't have all the answers to everything, and I've said on several occasions that if I'm the smartest person in the room here tonight, we're all in big trouble. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. But when I have a question like that, I go to the people who might have the answers for me. And a couple of weeks ago, I had the good fortune of having a meeting just over a cup of coffee with somebody who had an autistic child. And not a child anymore, but midway through his teens. And I asked that very question because I don't know if there's a straight answer. Do you think that public education, the regular classroom, was the best place for your son? And I was almost afraid to ask the question because sometimes it's a politically sensitive one. Because again, it was always thought that the best place for every child was in the regular classroom setting. And I was never convinced that that was really true. And he said, it may have been good when he was young, but when he was older, he needed a program that was tailor-made for him. And for me, that just made a whole lot of sense. And obviously that child, not a child anymore, but is living a much more meaningful life than he would have had we assumed that he would just travel with all of the other students to grade by grade, regardless of accomplishments. Now he's followed a program and he's living a much more useful life. I have a niece who did exactly the same thing. Upon graduation of some sort from high school, she followed a program that was more tailor-made for her and leads to a much more productive life. So I think we need to be very careful, and we want to make sure that we don't politicize that issue. Every child, regardless of ability, has the right to be educated in the public system. But I don't think we should expect that every child fits in every classroom. Thank you.
Moira and I have 5 children, and they all learned in different ways, and they all have their strengths and their weaknesses. I learned in bringing forward the Health Summit about 4 years ago from Dr. Mustard about the formative years and how important they were. So we need to ensure that our system goes and reaches into families long before they register for kindergarten. Inclusive education, if it means to include, you don't single any child out. So I believe that all children have a right to be in a classroom with their friends of the same age or the same opportunities. Every child has a right to learn. The difficulty we have is that from time to time we have budgetary restraints and we start talking about budgets rather than children. I believe that New Brunswickers and Canadians as a whole have always been able to rise to the occasion. So that is why I advocate a student bill of rights, une charte pour les droits des étudiants de la province. And that would be something that children then have a right to. They have a right to expect a certain level of education. But there's a wide range of things that we can do for our children with the existing resources that we have. And I've mentioned about Port Elgin, where we opened a health clinic right in the school. And that reaches into families. So there's a lot of great ideas out there, and they don't come from a bureaucracy, they come from meetings like this. And I'll just give you an example. Sistema, the music program in Moncton at the Beaverbrook School, took students who were making 20s and 30s and made them stars of their schools, gave them great pride, and their families in turn had a much better chance of life. So we need to look at the opportunities that are there from the public as well. Thank you.